either live by the gun or you die by the sword.
Good morning, listeners. Welcome to year 4 of the good, the bad, and the weird. I'm Nicho.
And I'm Chris.
I told you it was another
I regret making you watch this movie already.
I regret making myself watch it, too.
Today we're doing Hairspray.
Yes.
Specifically, the new one.
Well, the only movie adaptation one. Or scratch.
No, the 2007
musical adaptation.
There we go.
So yes, starting off year 4 of the good, the bad, and the weird, we chose to do for some reason.
I will explain
Hairspray.
I will explain my reasoning.
I know you will. And what is your name? You didn't say it.
My name is Chris. And I do regret watching this movie.
Yeah. And so, for those who don't know, we're doing Hairspray from 2007.
Yep.
It's a musical comedy romance adaptation of the 2002 Broadway adaptation or adaptation by Mark O'Donnell and Thomas Meehan, which is an adaptation of the John Waters 1988 movie of the exact same name.
Yes.
Which I have known about John Waters for a while.
Yes. His name does pop up.
Mainly because of the absurdist film Pink Flamingo and what's the other one? Femme Fatale or something. 2
of his most famous.
Of which I have never seen. This is actually my first John Waters movie as well that I watched.
I apologize. This is not maybe where I would normally start people with John Waters. I
don't know because from what I've heard, most people try and avoid the other John Waters to begin with.
Yes, there is a genre, a campiness genre for John Waters stuff.
Absurdist extremists genre.
And if you like that sort of thing, which I know you would enjoy.
Oh yeah.
Then a lot of his work is enjoyable. But part of the reason why I picked this specific version of this musical is because the Broadway version, the 2002 Broadway version, gripped the musical world.
Okay.
People were obsessed with it. Everyone and their high school band teacher was singing the songs in choir. We all learned the dance routines. It was on the radio. People loved it. And then the movie came out. And the grip re-found itself on everyone, right?
Well.
But they watered this movie down
so
far that it just, like, even for those who liked it, even though that there are parts that are good, there is so much more this could have been.
Well, and you say that, and it's kind of a weird thing too, because, well, not weird thing. I was in Italy at the time and never even knew this existed really until you brought it up.
I have distinct memories of friends wanting to be in the musical for the community group. I remember that, like, right after the movie came out, every theater, every high school put on Hairspray, and specifically this version of Hairspray. And it was interesting because for a bunch of the high schoolers, we were mostly here for the star cast and the songs, which is kind of the whole marketing gig of the movie. So they succeeded there.
Okay.
But when you start going back and looking at this musical and looking at the story and the plot and then, like, digging into it, you realize, like, how watered down this sucker became.
Yeah, and I mean that. So I think I texted you the first time I watched it saying I fucking hate this movie.
Yeah.
And then I watched the original. And then I'm like, I really don't like this movie.
Yes. And that was the weird, like, thing and the part of the reason why I wanted to pick this one specifically, because unlike some obviously cash grabby, like, I'm gonna put a bunch of famous people in a movie musicals, which we've seen plenty of, Cats being the most recent, I think.
Release the butthole version, please.
I would watch it.
I would too.
I'd pay more money, I think. Don't know how much more, but like some. Like an extra $1.
I don't know. I don't think I'd pay even that much more for that. if any more at all.
Like, this is a phenomenon that we see happen fairly regularly. Is like a musical or an older movie gets popular, and then we remake it with all famous people and water it down. And Hairspray was an exemplary, like, showing of that, because not only did it do all those things, but it succeeded.
Okay.
Like, it, unlike Cats, where everyone saw it and hated it.
Yeah.
People genuinely like, and still like, Hairspray the movie.
Oh, I can totally see it. I mean, I was involved in theater and musicals and whatnot, and...
This hits all of those notes, doesn't it?
To a point, yeah, I'd say. I mean...
It's got the bright colors, it's got the fun dancing, it's got really catchy songs.
Yeah.
And if you, like the movie does, gloss over the harder points that the original content was trying to make, you have a good time.
I mean, I guess. I mean, yeah, I can see it. I mean, I don't know. The horror story, I say horror stories. So my youngest brother, when he went to college, he ended up staying in the performing arts dorm hall.
Oh, he had the fun hall.
I don't think fun's the word he would use, and I don't think fun's the word I would use either.
I knew those people in college. Yeah. I was friends with those people in college. I am aware of their lives.
Yeah, I mean, I am too, but like...
And like, this movie specifically seems to like really like get a grip hold on like the high school age range, mostly I think because it's fun, it's poppy.
Yeah. And
then at the time, who was in it? Mostly Zac Efron.
Who was just coming off of High School Musical. Which,
I mean, that, like, eventually we're going to have to do that one. That gripped America. It still has a grip. If you yell what team to a random group of millennials, they will all yell Wildcats back at you.
What?
That is the chant. I don't know. I can't understand it. I wasn't a High School Musical fan, but even I know the chant.
I don't know it at all.
That's okay. You were in the wrong country, I think.
I'm glad I was in the wrong country, I guess.
But like this movie had this weird like grip on the high school theater group. Yeah. And then like the just like for fun musical people.
Yeah, I can see that a little bit with like probably our most recent one that actually was successful was The Greatest Showman.
Yeah.
Or La La Land.
La La Land is a great example of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where, like, we're throwing people at the screen and, like, just hoping that at least one of those names you recognize in that will make you want to watch the movie.
Because, West Side Story was up for an Oscars this year, and that was one of the biggest questions, from people I was listening to. I think Chicken on a Stick brought it up on one of their episodes, that it was, like...
Did we need a remake of West Side Story?
Exactly. And I mean, I've never seen any of them, so
I love West Side Story. But, like, yeah, it's a good question of... Did we need an update? And Hairspray is a very good example of like, did we need an updated version, even though people liked it?
Yeah, I don't know, but
we will discuss it.
Yes, we will. So, Hairspray was directed by Adam Shankman, and the screenplay was written by Leslie Dixon. And also in another movie that we didn't intentionally plan for her star debut, Nikki Blonsky. But also it has a lot of big names, but some of them are John Travolta, Queen Latifah, and Zac Efron.
Yes. To name a handful.
Yes, there's so many.
Like, the list goes on forever.
Yeah. And prior to Hairspray, Shankman had directed such hits as Cheaper by the Dozen 2.
Yeah.
The Pacifier.
I watched.
And one that I actually really enjoyed when I was younger, The Wedding Planner.
Again, I saw it. I liked The Wedding Planner.
I did too. At one point, I thought it would be cool to be a wedding planner because of that movie.
I never had that delusion. I just thought the statue scene was funny.
I would be good for a non-traditional wedding planner.
Yes.
Yes. And actually, the producers went through about 20 directors before deciding on Shankman, and it's just because he shared the same vision that they did.
Yeah.
Also, Dixon, on the other hand, I'm actually a little bit more familiar with their work, as she did the screenplays for Overboard, Mrs. Doubtfire.
I love Mrs. Doubtfire.
1999 remake of Thomas Crown Affair. The 2000 remake of Freaky Friday.
A good one.
As well as another film Travolta was in called Look Who's Talking Now.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah.
See, yes, I am more familiar with her work.
Exactly. And it's just one of those things where, like, we give so much credit to, like, the directors and stuff that we forget about the writers and what they do. But I will say this is the first musical DVD musical that we've reviewed where the DVD, I felt the special features were rather lackluster. Because we've done a couple musicals. We did White Christmas, and I know we did another one.
Have we done Seven Brides for Seven Brothers yet? Have I made you watch that atrocity?
Yes, we did. That's the last one we did.
Yeah. I have no apologies, but also don't go watch that.
Actually, I like Seven Brides for Seven Brothers.
I do too, but it is very kidnappy.
It's got some dated bits to it.
Ooh, they be dated.
But yeah, I mean, outside of the commentary, which was mostly Shankman and Blonsky being, in my opinion, just like real chatty Cathys about like, oh yeah, I love that person. Oh, we were best friends. We did X, Y, and Z together. It's like, I don't care. Which is all very, like, kind of strange because, like, when this DVD came out, like, it had a huge fan base. They knew that. That's why there's commentary at all, I think, on this DVD. Yeah. But, like, yeah, the special features could have been quite a lot, because there's quite a lot that was cut from the movie. Well, and so, I mean, that's just the commentary. All the other special features were just basically singing rooms and behind the scenes of the, like, not even really behind the scenes, just, like, the producers and everyone patting themselves on the back for making this a movie. And it's like... Yes, it was very weird. It was... I don't know. It just... It felt... It is, but it is the tone of the whole movie. Exactly. It's just so fluff. It is, yes, fluff is a great way to describe this entire experience. Yes. And for those who are unfamiliar with the movie or musical, Hairspray is about a plump teenager named Tracy Turnblad, who tries to bring integration into a separate but equal Baltimore. Yes, it's all based in Baltimore in the 60s, early 60s, and it also plays a lot with the idea of being comfortable in your own body and not having to change, like, having representation on screen. Yes, it has some trying aspects to it that just don't fall through. Yes. And before we do really get into it, I do want to give some warning. There is one specific colloquialism that is offensive, but it is part of the movie. And it is part of the reason why I picked this movie. Yes. And to get it up front, that the specific event in the movie that all this kind of bases itself around a little bit is Negro Day. Yes. Which was a real thing that happened during the segregations. In fact, there was a real example of this whole story plot minus, the teenage girl part. Yeah. Where the local TV station would have for young adults and teens a dance, like, variety show almost. Okay. And they only would show white kids. Yeah. And so one day a month, that was Negro Day. Yeah. Or Negro Weekend. And it is a very specific one-day event in this movie. In this movie, it is a one-day event. In the real world, sometimes it was one day, sometimes it was a weekend. But, like, this was a very real thing that happened during segregation. But unlike in this movie, things were not nearly as smooth, and we could not sing and dance our way through the problem. Oh, my biggest issue with musicals. Part of the reason why I wanted to talk about this movie, because this movie's original content does attempt a little bit more gracefully, I think, to handle the issue of segregation. I wouldn't say gracefully, it handles it in an absurdist manner. But a pointfully absurdist manner. The original, especially musical, is purposefully campy. And it's campy from several angles. It's campy from the segregation aspect. It's campy from the overweight characters in it. And it's campy from certain, like,
certain aspects of the LGBT community's point of view.
Yeah.
All of those aspects are weirdly glossed over in this movie.
Oh yeah, it's like they put a suit on them or something.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that more, because I have a lot of thoughts and opinions about that.
Muppet.
Yes. But while I wouldn't say the original either movie or play musical like handled this with any great seriousness or like dedication to like taking the topic extremely seriously, I do think that they at least like acknowledged them as real events, even though they were very like over the top exemplifications of themselves. And the directors and writers have like readily said like, yes, we removed those. We wanted this to be a more enjoyable viewing experience.
Yeah, they tried to.
It's so whitewashed.
Bring it up to standard. They tried to modernize it.
That's what they said that they tried to do. But like, granted, it's not a 2002. Like, it's a 2002 adaptation. It's not the
2007.
Yes. Like I would like to think we've come a long way since this movie.
Oh.
But like this, like even at the time period that this came out, like I remember we liked the movie's music. Even my white circle of friends was like, yeah, that's a little weird.
Yeah.
That we just like kind of brush through all of this, and the heroine is like this girl.
Yeah.
Like there's so many real life examples that could have been put into this to help like bolster this story even just the tiniest bit.
Much better movies out there too.
There are. But for some reason people love this movie.
I guess. But with that disclaimer out of the way, what are we drinking today, Chris?
We're drinking water because this movie's about a bunch of thirsty teenagers.
Yeah, so much thirst.
So much thirst.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh yes. Sorry, I don't.
No, I like room temp water too.
And so, Hairspray.
Yes.
We open on Baltimore, May 3rd, 1962, with a newspaper headline that reads, "Barnett defies U.S. Bars Negro from University."
Yes.
And for those who don't know the history, this is a reference to the governor and segregationist Ross Barnett, who attempted to prevent James Meredith from entering the University of Mississippi, which doesn't fit, because from what I was reading, that happened in September of 62, so I think it was just them trying to bring something somewhat relevant in.
Yeah, and like... Wow.
Hi, Charlie.
And like, I appreciate this little nod of like acknowledging that like these were real events that happened to real people. Like, this was a real struggle. Would have been nice if we had like maybe like gone like not even necessarily like leaned into it more, but just like tried. I
mean, they do. To be fair, there are some things that try, because I mean, for me, it's a good way to quickly set up the time era.
Yes.
I mean, it's
and if like you're not really researching into it, I suppose you could forgive the time skip.
Well, and I mean, it's also showing just Baltimore waking up. It's a newspaper. It's a quick way to get us in. But there are some things. We got black men shining the shoes of white men. And
no, I like this opening scene. I think this is maybe the strongest part of the movie for me.
Weirdly, yeah.
Like, I like the like overarching shots of Baltimore. It has like some good theming back to other movies and musicals that like kind of re-inspires that.
Yeah, that's right. I was gonna try and watch Tokyo Tribe, because I think it has a similar like roughly styled opening, but like by what I mean by styled is just like an overview of a city, but
like the zoom in and the camera angling all reminisces of like, yes, we are in a movie world, but like it does feel stage-esque.
Yeah.
You do get that nice little like start of a musical energy.
Well,
which is fun.
Part of the reason this opening feels stage-like is because the overhead shots are the only shots of John Waters' Baltimore neighborhood. The rest of it was shot on 3 blocks in Toronto that was converted into 60s Baltimore. And this was only because Baltimore did not have a big enough soundstage.
Oh, poor Baltimore.
Yeah. And so from this... Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because I have there's a very dreamlike feel to this entire movie. And that opening actually ties right into exactly some of the stuff I want to talk about.
Yes.
Because from here, we cut to who we can obviously assume is Tracy Turnblad, who's the main character portrayed by Nikki Blonsky, getting ready as we get our opening song, Good Morning Baltimore, hence my stupid opening.
Boy, is it a catchy song. I had to listen to this fricker on repeat.
No.
I did. I listened to this and You Can't Stop the Beat like almost every other day. And not by choice, mind you.
Okay.
I did not enjoy this one, but I had friends who really, really did, and like those were like ringtone choices.
I forget about. Was it ringtone or was it like that old ring back?
I think they were callback sounds.
God
yeah.
Damn. But to start off, how everything's going, Tracy is dancing in her sleep, and I do like that the Hairspray is like plays into like the title card.
I do too.
Which Hairspray in this movie is like middle schoolers Axe body spray.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah. And I mean, it's also just setting up that she's quirky, she lives above a novelty shop. Also, she is the only in this opening shot, she is the only plus size character in it because the only one singing because they wanted to make her the focus. And even through the movie, we honestly have like 3 plus size characters total.
Yes, yeah. It feels very much less of like a standard and more of like she is such an oddball out in this movie, which is fine. Like I mean, she's the focus,
but she's also not, as we see her open the fridge, so much things she wants to eat, but she grabs an apple and leaves.
Yeah, the inner battle, like it. I don't have much gripe with the like size, storytelling portion of this movie.
No, and some of that's actually quite good, especially like setting up her character. Like there's good stuff about setting it up, but she's also going through Baltimore. And one of the comments I saw of like people complaining is like, this isn't Baltimore. No one would be like that in Baltimore. And it's like,
I don't care.
Exactly. It's a fantasy movie.
It is very much a fantasy movie. And part of the reason why, unfortunately, it works is because Baltimore in movie world, most people can't pick Baltimore out from a street level, like city-wise, especially Baltimore in the 60s.
I definitely couldn't either. I mean, honestly, it does have that feeling of like row homes from like old New York, and like I mean it's an older city, so it has a similar style to older parts of the East Coast.
Yeah, and the only real reason that we know it's in Baltimore at all is because of a couple of historical events to help tie it into later plot points.
And also just like, I mean, it feels like someone moved. Here's what it feels like. It has that feeling in a musical or movie of someone just like moving to like New York.
Yes.
Where they're like all enamored by it, where she's like, she's feeding the rats. There's the drunk bum in the window at 2 in the morning, or at
there's the crackhead that I see each morning.
Yep. Yes. And then there's the flasher down the street who is played by John Waters himself.
Yes, it is.
But I don't know. It just comes off as weird to me. It just doesn't.
It's very dreamlike. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, she has supposedly have lived here a very long time, and yet she is still enamored by the city.
Yeah.
In a arguably not the best part of town.
No, not at all. And I mean, she's a happy-go-lucky, positive person. I don't know. Maybe that's how those sort of folk live. I
what
guess.
A novelty.
I guess. I mean,
ought to be a pessimist.
Same. But also, she misses her bus. She gets on a trash collector to go back to her school, which I guess the dump truck riding is an homage to Funny Girl, which I don't think I've seen.
It's loose, but I'll give it to him.
There's a lot of like little loose like homages that they just kept bringing up of like, oh yeah, this was our reference to this. This is our homage to this.
But like so many movies where we have just kind of thrown a ton of big names at a script and like been like, look, aren't you interested? Like all of these homages are not direct enough to be iconic.
Or understood by the general public, I would say.
I would argue even by film lovers. Because, like, a lot of the ones that they say they were referencing, I've seen those movies. I'm a fan of some of those movies. I wouldn't point to that and be like, yes, that is such and such scene. Like, it doesn't feel impactful enough to, like, really lean in.
Yeah, and yeah, I have no clue. I looked up Funny Girl. I definitely for a fact have not seen this one.
No, I would be surprised if you had.
Hey, I
dabble, he says.
I stumble upon musicals unintentionally, and they're always the weird offshoot ones that no one knows about or even thinks about.
I understand. It's okay.
And I'm trying to ruin your husband with musicals that he hates.
That's okay. It's good for his character
development. I've actually been successful with one.
Oh, good.
Happiness of the Katakuri's.
Oh, yes. He talks about it regularly.
He hates it so much. But talking about the main character, when they were casting, they wanted Tracy to be an unknown, while everyone else in the cast could be stars and were stars.
Yes. Big name stars.
But Tracy had to be between 17 and 18 and someone who is comfortable in their own skin and confident with who they were.
I appreciate that sentiment.
Oh, I do too. I mean,
Wish we could have kept it for the rest of the cast.
Yeah. Which, I mean, to date this movie a bit, they found Tracy on her MySpace page.
Ooh. Yeah, that's old.
Which there are some of the one special feature where they're like interviewing her. She's in like her work uniform, like at a sandwich shop or some shit.
Oh, the good old days.
But Blonsky did also mention that she was always comfortable with who she was because that was her upbringing of like, even though she was a bigger girl, her parents were like, you're fine who you are, just embrace it kind of thing.
Yeah. And honestly, I think she does a great job in this movie.
Yeah.
My complaints are not with her at all.
Oh, no, not at all.
She's fun. She feels young. She feels like a high school student throughout the whole thing. And yeah, she feels like that bubbly over-the-top person.
Yes, we have bubbly over-the-top people in the office.
Yes, this is an exemplification of them.
We have one very specific one that this reminds me of a little bit.
Yes, I can understand.
And because of that, that's the reason she's the only person who's singing and why we're defining her in this very opening scene. Great way to do it.
Yeah, I love it. It's great.
But from here, we cut to class, and our main character, Tracy, has inappropriately sized hair.
I can understand where this was trying to come from. But it just doesn't quite work.
And, I mean, honestly, for a very small in stature person, and small through all of my schooling, I was always put behind the big people.
Yes.
Like, tall people.
You never saw anything in front of you, did you?
No.
That's okay. You didn't miss much.
No, not really. I mean, I spent most of my time drawing in high school.
Exactly.
So.
and I get that the original one was going, again, more of a campy, like, outlook on it. Where, like, she's trying to be over the top and part of a group that isn't represented, like, very strongly in her school.
Not accepting of her. She's trying to be very in vogue.
Yes. This version just kind of comes off partially because it's so 2007-esque. Well, it just kind of comes off as, like, bad dress code.
And on top of that, like, it's just like, oh, do that and it'll send you to detention again. And then just cuts from that to just her going through her day and watching the clock, getting ready to get out of school because...
There's no consequences to this hair.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what they were trying to do with that. I think it was just to focus on, like, oh, look at how conforming she is, which...
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know, because, I mean...
feel like we could have upped the amount of over-the-topness.
Yes.
In some of the character designs.
Yeah.
Like, her clothing could have been a little bit moreness. Like, she's dressed fun and bubbly, but, like, I wouldn't say outrageously for a high school student.
Not yet, at least.
No, not yet. Eventually,
there's a scene.
Yes, we will get there. But, like, her hair's big, but it's not outrageously big. It's
not Bride of Frankenstein.
Exactly, and I feel like we don't have to go all the way to Bride of Frankenstein.
No.
But we could have, like...
Oh...
over into it a little.
What was that Jersey Shore thing that was popular? Like, I think it was like around 2009. The one little, there was like the insert that you put in your hair.
The bump it.
The bump it.
The bump it was how people got in musicals. I remember because my friend didn't have one, so her mother had her use a sock.
Beautiful.
I thought that she finally achieved her final form of big hair.
The female version of Super Saiyan.
Yeah.
Actually, are there female? I don't know.
Oh, there's gotta be at this point.
No, there is. I think it's one of the grandkids or something.
Oh, probably. I've lost track of them all. I'm not gonna lie.
I stopped after Dragon Ball, so I...
Oh, you're way behind.
I am...
Oh, you're so behind.
I have...
It's okay, I am too, but, like, I'm farther than that.
I've seen little bits here and there. I did watch Battle of the Gods, so
okay, you've got the best characters then, you're good.
Yeah, kind of, I guess.
The purple cat's all we really care about.
From what I've been told, I have played Budokai Tenkaichi 2, the most superior Dragon Ball Z game we've ever had. I know the basic story from that.
That's all you need.
Yes. And so, once the school bell rings, Tracy grabs her friend Penny, and they're running back home. But there's a nice cut back and forth between her and her friend Penny, who's portrayed by Amanda Bynes, rushing home as we get like the players for Hairspray getting ready. There's lots of hairspray and a little bit of stuffing.
Oh yes.
Yes, and by stuffing I mean shoving shit in the boob pockets to make them bigger.
Yeah, I mean it's the most fake high school stuff, but it's fine. It's a musical.
Yeah.
About high school kids.
I mean,
it was either this or copious amounts of body spray. Which one did you want?
At this point, the hairspray is body spray.
Yes, it is. Sting the nostrils.
But, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. But I do like the use of parallel action in this movie, like, between product and consumer, of, like, just setting up what they're getting to, because I do have moments like this, at least when I was younger, back when I had regular, like, television programming that I could watch, of wanting to get back home in time for Pokemon, and then I missed Pokemon and Digimon was on.
Yes.
And I was disappointed because Pokemon
and this was pre, like, your parents letting you record stuff. Like, if you missed it, you missed it.
We didn't have recording, and on top of that, I had to finish my homework before I could watch anything.
I understand that entirely. We had recording. It was not for me.
No.
It was for the football game. Because we only had, like, 2 or 3 slots.
Well...
So we recorded the news, the football game, and, like, one other thing. If we recorded it all.
I'm trying to remember. I think I lived outside of that time frame, really, because... So...
We held on for a long time.
Well, so at that time, like, when TV was starting to get big in my life, I was living in Alaska.
Yes.
So we did a lot of outdoor stuff. I don't remember watching a whole lot of TV, so, like, movie nights were important to me. That's back when we would walk down to Blockbuster, rent a movie, get some candy, and go back home. Like,
exactly.
That was the time of my life. And then we moved to Germany, where we had, like, 5 channels on AFN, where we had German programming.
Yes.
But we opted for AFN for the most part, which, for those who don't know, because I've brought up AFN on some other people's talks and stuff, and no one knows what this is. AFN is the Armed Forces Network. It is a series. It is it's TV shows and programming that's given to the U.S. military to entertain the troops overseas who don't have access, or who don't want to pay for Sky or anything. So
think about White Christmas and those scenes that didn't make sense to you. That's it. Just old timey.
Yeah, actually, yes, a lot of old-timey stuff. Original Batman, original Star Trek,
yes.
Andy Griffith Show. Not the Partridge Family, that was too rich. We had, we had the Partridge Family. That Partridge Family was the poor person's Brady Bunch.
Yes, it was.
But yeah, the little tangent, yeah, so yeah, that makes sense why I don't remember some of that stuff.
Yeah.
But it is time for the Corny Collins Show.
Yes.
Which is sponsored by Ultra Clutch Hairspray.
You don't say.
Which Corny Collins is played by James Marston, who is Tom in the new Sonic movies.
Hooray!
Yeah. But I do... Okay, so... I'm not a huge fan of this part, for the most part. Just this dance number. I do like the infighting and like the little competitive, like...
Yes.
Spiteful high schoolness.
I like the little bitchiness that happens.
Because it's quickly established that no one likes Amber, who is portrayed by Brittany Snow. But everyone loves Link, who is portrayed by Zac Efron.
Because of course everyone likes Zac Efron.
Yes.
He is the heartthrob of the movie. It is required for him to be the good guy.
Actually, I think I've only seen one other movie Zac Efron's been in, to be honest.
I will give you his more recent works you would enjoy.
Yeah, I did. I kind of like Baywatch a bit.
Yeah.
For other reasons too, but I like...
But also the boob jiggling.
Yes.
On both ends of the spectrum.
But yeah, I mean, it's a nice introduction of like what the kids are interested in.
Yeah, and it's also a good like resetting of like a high school mentality of like, these are the popular kids, here's the bitchy girl that for some reason is popular but no one actually likes her, here's the hot guy, he will be the main love interest, don't worry. Amber's
mom's the one who's kind of trying to get her daughter in the spotlight.
Yes.
And then we also get the very start of some of the issues with the movie is that they... And at the same time, I mean, it's from the perspective it's trying to portray, I guess glossing over a bunch of it is accurate for the time. It's just like kind of deal with it kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it doesn't fit since it's more from Tracy's standpoint.
Yeah.
Because there's a nod to, and this is said from Corny Collins of like, those are some nice white kids, but also remember, we have Negro Day coming up.
Yeah, which, if this is an odd balanced movie, because especially at the beginning, we do seem to try and like really lean into this idea of like the social imbalance that has happened, the like injustice that is supposed to be standard everyday, like a reality.
Yeah.
But the only people who you actively hate in this movie are the popular girl and her mom.
Yeah.
Like
and even then, like, you can dislike the popular girl, Amber, but like you can't fault her either because she's a kid. It's her mom who's really the bad influence.
Her mom is like the only quote unquote bad guy in this movie, which is an interesting like step away from like, well, we've presented this big problem. It's supposed to be ingrained throughout, but it's only really seems to be a problem. Like we establish it now as a problem throughout. Later on, it is only a problem for certain aspects.
For one person. And that I think that's exactly, I think you're hitting the nail on the head right there, is that the antagonist of this movie is weak.
Yeah.
Like there's not much to her, and she doesn't even really feel like a true antagonist. She's just an asshole person.
Yes. Yeah. And like in a musical about showbiz, and about segregation in showbiz, I expect there to be more assholeness throughout. I expect more than just one adult in charge. Like, I'm okay with this like watered down, bright-eyed, like, the kids all love each other, they're the future. Sure. Like, I can understand that hope of like, that's our message that we want. But just the one adult is the asshole?
Well, I mean, there's that, but we'll actually get right into another asshole character who's just kind of there.
Yeah, very loosely.
Because back at the Turnblads, in comes the fucking Muppet, Edna Turnblad, who is portrayed by John Travolta in his return to musicals after 30 years.
And I remember this being advertised as a big deal. I, along with most of my friends at this time period, and I think most people are our age when this movie came out, I knew of John Travolta. I did not actively know anything about him.
in Greece.
Yeah.
I knew of John Travolta quite a bit.
Like, we knew of John Travolta, but, like, for them to spend all this, like, effort being like, John Travolta's back in a musical, aren't you excited? And then for this to be the role they put him in, it felt very strange, because, like, this, for a lot of us, was, like, our first real, like, hey, look at John Travolta. Not just like, oh, he's in this, or have you seen this movie? Yeah. It was look at John Travolta.
Yeah, that is the focus. And, I mean, that's a weird thing, too, because, like, I was talking to Laugh the other day.
Yeah.
And, like, my big thing with John Travolta that I knew was the movie he was in, Michael. Mm-hmm. Laugh knows Michael.
But you don't realize it's John Travolta.
No, you know John Travolta as Michael. You do,
but, like, you're more into the movie and less into him. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's like how people went to this for Zac Efron.
Yes.
The new Travolta.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, in a way. Less Scientology.
A lot less Scientology. But they try, I mean, and I get their sentiment. Like, they tried to make the fat suit look more natural looking.
I will give them that. Like, it's not the worst fat suit I've seen.
Well, and they tried to transfer the movement and make it feel like he wasn't wearing what they called pillows. But, I mean...
But then they modeled all his movements off of the hippos from the Disney Fantasia.
Yeah, there's a very specific scene that the face is not good. Especially the prosthetics around the face.
And I have no corpse with John Travolta being in the movie. Like, I really don't give too much of a shit as far as, like, him is concerned. Like, the thing that threw me for a loop was this character was originally played by a drag queen.
Yes.
And it was meant for, like, this character is meant for a drag queen who John Travolta is not.
Well, and here's the thing. So, in watching the John Waters original, in watching the original, it's played by Divine.
Yes.
Who is
huge in the industry.
Huge, but also a bigger person to begin with.
Yes.
So
portraying themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think that's the issue too, is that they had to make it a fat suit.
Yes. And, like, I could potentially overlook the fat suit to an extent. I think it was not the best done.
No.
But I have seen worse. I've seen much worse fat suits. My gripe is that, like, in part of the watering down of this movie, the mom character was, like, a huge part of that was the recognition that Divine had. Like, you saw them and you knew who they were. You knew they were a drag queen.
Yeah.
It wasn't John Travolta pretending to be a mom and then, like, hoping that the younger audience would get the jab at, like, oh, well, it's like a drag queen. But, like, John Travolta is not.
No.
And it's not him trying to be a drag queen, trying to be this character. It was like they removed a huge chunk out of this character's, like, portrayal.
Yeah, and if I remember right, the musical also is portrayed by a drag queen as well.
I believe so.
So, I mean, it's just this weird thing. And, I mean, on top of that, I mean, as much as they tried with the bodysuit to make it look realistic, there are parts where, compared next to a real woman, because there's multiple dance scenes, there's less jiggly bits, and it feels more solid like 2D anime titties.
Yes, it does.
Yes,
it does.
Yeah. And the other thing, too, John Travolta also decided for some reason that his character was a hot babe back in the day, and, like, it just doesn't add anything to the character. Like, it just...
No, and it very much feels like Which is disappointing because, like, this character has a lot of potential and for a lot of people could have connected really nicely.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, she just feels really fluff-filled. She feels like a pillow, like a husk, almost.
Yeah, just there to fill a role.
Yeah, instead of, like, adding a layer to this.
Yeah, but also John Travolta took the role because he had skipped over Chicago and had regretted it. And
which feels like a reason that a lot of people are in this movie.
I guess. Well, actually, John Travolta is the reason a lot of people are in this movie because first off, he didn't respond for like 14 months because he had the 30-year gap between Grease, and he wanted to make sure he still could contribute. But on top of that, he wanted to bring in other song and dance people into the fold.
Which I can understand, but looking down the list of people in this movie, it does not feel like we emphasized song and dance actors.
No.
It feels like we have picked actors who have played in song and dance roles.
Well,
occasionally.
In roles occasionally, but have a background in song and dance. Because they actually do, like...
Yes.
Yeah.
Some more than others.
Yeah. But we find out that Edna is a dry cleaner, an in-home dry cleaner, laundromat. But in storms Penny's mom, Velma, who is portrayed by Michelle Pfeiffer, who is the other bigot of the movie.
Yeah, because we need one. Because
immediately she's not a fan of this race music and also calls it colored music.
And, like, again, if this terminology was spread more evenly across all the characters, I could believe the overarching problem. But it's not. It's just these two characters who seem to, like, be leaning in. And I can understand having some more than others.
Yeah.
But, like, pretending that everyone else is as uncomfortable as a 2007 person is in what's supposed to be the 60s Baltimore. It's weird.
Yeah.
It just reads weird.
Yeah, just... It's a part of the movie, and just...
It feels like modern people thrown into old-timey times and being like, oh, yeah, hi.
What's up, young whippersnappers?
Yes, very much.
Yes. And yeah, I completely agree with that, because on top of that, we have on the TV Corny Collins calling it Come Back for That Detroit Sound, which I did a little digging. There are books on it. I didn't have time. Also, I'm not a huge super music person, so... I want to spend the money on it, but the sum of it, at this time, there was rock and roll was becoming a bigger thing.
Yes.
And every state or every city kind of had their own sound.
Oh, yeah.
And style. So, and also we get this little quip of, we have to steer them in the right direction.
Awkward.
Yeah. And on that, Shankman also mentioned that the theme of this movie is integration in the movie, and it's about everyone in this movie, and it just feels like they were reaching a little too far with what they wanted.
Yes. And I would make that quote would be true about the original content.
Yeah.
I don't know if it hit for this.
Yeah, and they do try and cover quite a bit.
Sure. I will give them that.
Yeah, but only for like a little bit here and there.
It is a light dusting.
Yes. And side note, before Tracy does get into the house, she does say a quick hello to her father, who's portrayed by Christopher Walken.
Yes.
Who does have a theater background.
Yes, he does.
That's one of the actors who was brought in because Travolta wanted a song and dance person. And now we do get the real behind of the Corny Collins show where Amber's mom is a bitch. She's pulling the stuffing out of some of the other teens and just
being standard bitchy affair.
Yep.
Not even sneaky bitchy.
Yep, and we get cut back to the pair hating Amber, and we get an establishment that Link goes to the school with Tracy and Penny. And yeah, we get the introduction. We get the little like cut to commercial where the cameraman focuses on Amber, and then we also get the introduction to Rhythm and Blues Day, which is called Negro Day, introduced by Motormouth Maybelle, who is portrayed by Queen Latifah.
Yes.
Side note, Aretha Franklin lost out on this role to Latifah.
I don't think she missed anything.
No, not at all. But we also get that maybe Corny Collins isn't that great of a dude, because this is the point that's going to change Tracy's life, because they have a magical opening because someone's taking 9 months off.
Oh. And then we never talk about this again.
Never again. Because we now cut back to the Turnbland house, where the Muppet doesn't want Tracy to do the show. We also learn that she's on diet pills because they are both trying to be normal.
Yep.
Normal, I'm putting in quotation marks.
Yeah.
Which throws Tracy into a little bit of a fit. She runs upstairs, but the Muppet tries arguing to the father that she was just trying to make her be realistic about how the world views her.
Again, my biggest gripes really aren't with the diet culture and size problems that the movie comes up with. It's mostly with the fat suit Muppet telling.
Well,
yeah. that's the part that's weird about all this, because honestly, this theme in the movie and this portion, writing wise, not bad.
No, it's not. It's very fluffy about
if it had come from a different face, a different actor, I think it would have hit a little harder.
Maybe. Because, right from this, we go to the dad giving her the soft go-ahead, and, honestly, to be fair, Tracy's room does remind me a little bit less creepier version of The Loved Ones.
Oh, yeah, I can see it.
But it doesn't have that impact because, of course, she's Daddy's little girl, and Daddy gives her the go-ahead, basically.
Yes.
Follow your heart, honey.
Which, it's a fluffy high school movie, so, I'm not super upset with the quick turnaround of this resolution.
I do forget that I had teachers who were trying to get us to watch more, I guess, historically important stuff at this time, because my Italian teacher tried getting us to watch La Dolce Vita.
Oh, sure.
And then my German teacher had us watch Nosferatu.
Ah, a classic.
I missed half of it because of a show choir trip, actually. Or no, not even a show choir, a regular choir trip.
That is an accurate representation of this movie.
But from here, we cut to Tracy and Penny cutting class to audition. Velma Von Tussle is living in the past as Miss Baltimore Crab.
Yay.
Which is such a weird part because, one, it's basically a beauty pageant. They're judging who's even going to be on the show.
Yes.
100%.
But
she is such a prude about everything, while at the same time making nods that she kind of slept her way to the top.
Yeah, it is an awkward balancing act, isn't it, that she is playing?
Yeah, and it just adds to the delusional dream and flashbacks that are relatively nicely edited together.
I kind of enjoy them. They add interest to her.
Yeah.
She's not just bitchy just for bitchiness.
No, she's...
she has worked on this bitch. She has crafted this bitch over the decades. This is a well-marbled bitch.
She has hardened her shell to beat Miss Baltimore Crab.
She truly has.
Which, it just reminds me, we were in Okoboji and there was... our boat stalled while we were out there, and there was some dude who came over. He's like, "You guys need help?" "Nope, we're good. We got it taken care of. We're fixing it." And then he just kind of sat there. He's like, I'm Spirit Lake Prom King, right?
That's nice.
Cool, dude. We don't give a shit who the fuck you are. It has that very big fish in a small pond feel.
It does.
Yeah. And also she's old and she's trying to, or not old, she's older and trying to push her dreams onto her kiddo.
She is living through her child.
Yeah. And to be fair, there are some solid insults in this. I won't deny it. Because she also mentions that to Tracy that they're not broadcasting in CinemaScope.
Rude.
Which, for those who don't know, CinemaScope was a larger format video film style of the film of the time, because remember, actual physical film.
Yeah, it's filming in landscape instead of portrait mode.
Yeah, and on top of that, she pisses everyone off even further because for Tracy, integration is the new frontier.
Yes, and I go back and forth pretty hard on whether or not I like Tracy's activism in, like, portrayal of activism in this movie. Because there are times where, like, I knew kids in high school who, like, wanted to be an activist. They wanted to fight for a cause. I don't know if necessarily in high school they truly knew what cause they were going to go for.
Yeah.
They kind of just picked one and went with it. But, you know, like, that's fine. It's how you just gotta get started somehow, I guess.
The overall tone of this film for me feels very Instagram influencer.
Yes.
Activism.
That is my, like, weird back and forthness, because there are points in this where it doesn't feel genuine.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like, well, I said that I care.
Yeah.
And thus I care. And less of, like, trying to, like, be a good ally or, like, even learn about the problem.
Yeah. It's just like, oh yeah, it's just saying, oh yeah, I'm into this.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, fitting for a high school kid in a high school movie, but at the same time, like
she is meant to be our main protagonist, though.
But this movie isn't like High School Musical that is supposed to be a full high school movie. This is supposed to be like...
This is either supposed to be a commentary here.
A blockbuster kind of movie.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And from here, we assume Tracy's not going to get the role. No one in that audition is getting the role.
Of course not. They are going to wait for a perfect little white child.
Yeah, we cut back to school where Tracy gets detention, but...
Because she skipped to go to this audition.
Yep. But detention is not really detention.
Because this wouldn't be a musical movie if detention was actually detention.
It's the place they hide away the hip black kids who end up pretty much living there in the school.
I don't understand how this detention system works.
Yeah, we're introduced to Seaweed, who's portrayed by Elijah Kelly, who was cast day one.
Yeah.
He does have moves. Everyone in this movie actually dances quite well, and
the choreography's fun. I wouldn't say it's, like, mind-blowingly good, but, like, it's fun.
Well, and that's also my issue with the commentaries. Like, most of the ones we've talked about is, like, they're like, oh, this is why we did this dance and this.
Yes.
And most of it's just, like, we did contemporary dances.
Yes, very much. I mean, like, there is a small handful of spots where the choreography is meant to reminisce the time period. Most of it is just dancing. Yeah. Just kind of general choreography.
Yeah, which... I mean, this scene is to show that Tracy's one of the hip kids. She's holding her own, and that they're leaning a little too hard into her.
Yes.
Like, I mean, to be fair, for the time, it probably fits a little bit weird, that it's weird. Yeah. But, like, she's wishing every day was Negro Day, which I do like Seaweed's response, that if you lived in their household, every day is Negro Day.
It's a good comeback.
It is a good comeback. But, I mean, it is one of them. And Blonsky does mention that this was basically her as a kid, too. And
yeah. And, like, I don't necessarily hate this scene, but again, like, there's so much more with Tracy's character that we could have, like, built with.
Every character in the movie is like that.
Yeah, you're right. But, like, there's potential, and that's what's frustrating.
Yeah.
Like, this could have been a really great starting point for her to, like, find her activism.
Well, and because of, speaking of potential, Link sees Tracy shaking it, and he likes what he sees, and invites her to show up to the Hop, where Corny Collins is bound to see her.
Because that's how you get roles in not a creepy way as a high school student.
A
little creepy.
I mean, it is very creepy, but, I mean,
it fits this whole movie.
Oh, it does. Because now it's time for another delusional scene where we have the hallway song. I don't remember what the hallway song is.
That's okay. There's only really two you need to remember.
Which the studio wanted to cut out. And I'm glad they didn't have the budget for this, because they wanted to make this scene super fancy. Ew. But they opted for a more grounded moment.
I'm okay with that.
Which there is a nice conservative titty touch.
There is.
Which I do like this nod. There are some little quips here and there about the times that are nice, but again, they ultimately lead to nothing.
Yes.
Because Penny brushes it off and looks at another character like, oh, that's weird. No, it was an accident, kind of thing.
Yeah, like there are. It has its moments. It has its moments, which I can see why that would potentially add to why people liked it.
Yeah.
It just didn't run with it.
Exactly. It's because they had an idea and just didn't commit. Because they had to be somewhat true to the musical. They couldn't...
In a way, they did rewrite most of this.
Yes, but they tried keeping the spirit of it. Yeah. And the spirit is all they got.
If you rewrite the spirit into a suit of armor, is it still your brother?
Damn it. You fucking nerd. Actually, that is a very big question, and we are not answering it on this episode. But we also get like little snippets of the teacher smoking lounge. They're trying. That's the thing. They're trying really too hard in some aspects to remember. Like, hey, remember this is how it used to be.
Yes, and like the teacher smoking lounge, I think, is a good nod to like it being the 60s.
Yeah.
Because even if you're not super into more recent history, you would still at least like have an idea of the teacher smoking lounge. Most older schools still have it, and then they just like remove the smoking part off the lounge.
Oh yeah, and I mean the reason I find this part weird too, is the transitions to a skeleton in the doctor's office, which was their nod to an anti-smoking quip of some kind.
Yeah, sure. Which is odd because this is the 60s and there would not have been any anti-smoking quips.
Yeah. I mean, it's...
Like, I get it, like, occasionally they flip too hard between 2007 and the 60s.
Yeah.
Pick one.
Because right from here we go to them smoking in the girl's water closet.
A more believable 60s.
Yep. Teepee veil, which...
Not my thing, but I'm sure it happened.
Yeah. And also, one of my least favorite parts in this movie, her creepily looking into into the boys' restroom.
Yes, to be creepy.
Which it just fits so weirdly.
Yeah. But again, this movie continuously sprinkles weird high school sexual tension in places it just does. It's never really truly addressed.
No. Also, the mirror placement in this scene is stupid.
Oh, the whole bathroom placement is stupid.
All the mirrors are just like slightly off center.
Yes. Yes, they are.
It is so obnoxious.
As someone who like actively draws remodeling bathrooms for a living, it bothers me greatly, this bathroom.
Yeah. Same. I have done so many bathrooms.
I'm currently in the process of doing a bathroom that looks very similar to this one, and I'm moving all of it. All of it's going. It's all getting relocated.
Yeah. But the one thing I do like about this scene is that she's still Tracy's still hopeful.
I like that.
But she sees Link kissing another girl outside the buses, which is a nice way to bring her down from her dreamlike moment and end the song.
Yes, I think the transition here works really nicely.
Exactly. There are, like I said,
the music part of this I think works, and when the film is following the music, this movie's solid.
Yeah, and there's a lot more to it.
Luckily, there's a lot of music in this movie.
Yes, because now we cut to the segregated hop dance, and we also got to remember that segregation was legal and ended in 1964, so this is 2 years before that. And there's some other history stuff I have to get into at some point.
Yes.
In a little bit. But it's time for Tracy to show off her moves as she borrows Seaweed's moves. Even though she wants him to dance on their side, and really pushing her being oblivious to the times. Yeah.
In kind of a awkward manner, almost.
Naive, dreamlike manner.
Yes.
Which tries breaking borders, but doesn't really, because as she ends up becoming the focus of the scene as everyone gathers to watch her, and Link is even further in love.
Of course. The slipping continues.
Yep. And also of note, this is set in Patterson High School in Baltimore, presumably, which in 2022 gained notoriety for 75% of its students testing at elementary school reading and math levels and had an attendance rate of 59%.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You know what? I can't say much. I live in Missouri. We're real low on the education totem.
I live in Arkansas. We are like 7th illiterate in the U.S., so...
Yeah. Yeah, we have no room to talk.
No. Also of note, there's a little sly bit that I like that I didn't catch until like my second or third watch through. Seaweed is very heavily trying to grind on a girl across the ropeway. He likes the wet meat. Which is a little early nod to what's going to happen down the line. Because also of note, at this time, interracial marriage was illegal in Maryland and 17 other states until 1967 when the Supreme Court decision of Loving versus Virginia came out.
Yes. Old-timey times of fuck you.
Also, this is about the time that the alien phenomena was becoming a bigger thing, especially with our most believable encounter yet, Betty and Barney Hill.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is that era.
That's... boy, drugs in the 60s must have been great.
Betty and Barney Hill is for a whole other episode. But the song Lady's Choice was supposed to be more Elvis-like, and it was a more dynamic song to show Tracy's moves and, give Link a little bit of a bigger role.
And honestly, like, while I wouldn't say it is heavy into the Elvis styling, like, I can see where they were trying to go with it.
To be fair, I only know like a couple Elvis songs.
I had a friend who was obsessed with Elvis growing up. Embarrassingly so. To the point where after the obsession died down, she hid all of that and would like everyone to forget. I have not forgotten.
You know who you are.
You know who you are.
Was Brian an Elvis dude or was he just Beatles
He's
fan? Beatles. Okay.
Brian picks like a band and sticks with it for many years. He's currently on Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah.
He was on Gorillaz.
We had 2 weeks ago, me and I were drinking and had talks about Gorillaz, yes. So I'm aware. But Tracy makes it onto the show, and she's there with a new hairdo, and I like how this is kind of announced. It makes me think a little bit how Fred and George had to have told their parents of like, hey, yes. We're going to be at Harry Potter, by the way.
Yes.
I don't know their actual actor names, but
that's who they are now.
But this is the scene where this is where I'm like, this is when I texted you and I said,
this is
John Travolta's a fucking Muppet.
Yes.
Because this is the part where
it gets weird.
The makeup, especially around the face, you can see like roughly the outline of where Travolta's face is and where the prosthetics push forward. It makes me think of like a Journey to the Moon.
Yes.
And the
but
reaction
like not in a good way.
That's the thing. The reaction feels so fake from him too. Like
yes, it's very strange.
It just
for the amount of effort that they claim went into this, it is weak.
It's very weak
for being one of the supposedly big scenes.
Yeah,
it's very strange.
Well, and yeah, it's
especially because we see from different parts of the movie that like the prosthetics do look okay at times. I'm never gonna say great. I don't think at any point in the movie does John Travolta look great.
No,
but they are passably fine.
That scene from Austin Powers popped in my head. You just hit a woman. It's not a woman, baby. It's a man. It makes me think of that a little bit. But
Austin Powers' makeup was much better than this movie's.
It wasn't.
Yes, it was.
Not for that part because they they switched actors on that one.
I know, that's why it works.
But we also get a little bit more of the kind of stupidity that is Tracy.
Yes.
Just the naive dreamer, where she says, maybe one day I'll be president or a Rockette.
Those are 2 vastly different careers, but I appreciate the variety.
Yes. And for one uncultured such as myself.
Did you have to look up the Rockettes?
I had to look up the Rockettes.
Oh my gosh. Nico! Where have you been every Christmas?
I have confirmed that I am a troglodyte. Actually, I've been a lot of places over Christmas. I am a troglodyte.
Mm-hmm.
I have been learning slang. I learned what bet means.
Uh-huh.
I learned what ship means.
I'm so proud of you.
And what was it? There was another one I learned that... goat.
You finally learned what goat means, huh? After the Olympics have been finally over for how long?
What?
What? Goat.
The fuck are you talking
Oh, Nico.
I'm a troglodyte.
I can tell. You and Patrick Starr are living under the same rock.
Yeah, except I have much more brain cells at times.
At least Patrick Starr watches the TV.
I watch TV just in different ways.
I see. So you were not familiar with the delightful can-can leg girls of the Rockettes?
Oh.
Oh,
I'm sure I might have seen them at one point or another. I just didn't.
I forget that you didn't have the same commercials that I did growing up. Because for some reason, every Christmas, the same Rockette CD is for sale.
That's the thing. We didn't really watch TV at Christmas. We went and saw movies, and on top of that, AFN did not have commercials. It had scratch that. It didn't have regular commercials. It had the military commercials.
I forgot about the military commercials.
Yes.
Yeah, you wouldn't have had the What's Now Greatest Hits Volume 12 commercial.
No.
On repeat. Every Christmas, the Rockettes commercial would come on, and granted, I am fully aware that the Rockettes do more than just the Christmas special, but that is, I would say, what they're probably most known for is their Christmas special.
The only thing I have ads on now is YouTube because I refuse to pay for it, and right now it's just basically Bumble ads.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I'm making myself sound even more like a troglodyte.
Yes, you are. It had never occurred to me that someone wouldn't know what a Rockette is. That's a bit like saying that you don't know what the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders look like.
I mean, I know. I do know.
Okay, that's good.
I've seen a handful of halftime shows. That was the only part I cared about.
I feel like, as a gentleman, with the interest of ladies, you are required to at least know what the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders look like, what at least a single Hooters waitress looks like, and at least a vague idea of what a Rockette looks like. That covers all of the spectrum of the interests, I feel like.
I can't even tell you what they look like because I just looked at the Wikipedia page.
No, Nico!
I know there was a picture on it, but I could not tell you what the picture... I know
legs! It looks like legs!
Okay.
It's a bunch of very beautiful women can-canning their way across the stage.
I will look it up after this.
Okay, well... You know what? No. Wait till Christmas.
But for those who do not know, like myself, or did not know,
all right,
the Rockettes are an American precision dance company that was founded in 1925 in St. Louis.
Yes.
That they lacked diversity and did not allow dark-skinned dancers at all until 1987 with Jennifer Jones.
They are still notorious for all looking the same.
Yes, which she was not their first non-white dancer. That goes to Japanese-born Muruhashi Setsuko.
Yes. To the point of, they're all the same height.
Yeah.
Same hair length, clones of themselves.
Which I think Setsuko's, her integration into it was, just a few years before this, too. So it wasn't
they would be an interesting study in diversification.
Yeah.
Because even still, being more diverse than they used to be, I would argue they all still have very similar aesthetic.
I have to take your word for it because I have no clue.
Baffled as how someone hasn't been entranced by their legs before.
I watch other legs.
Well, I've introduced you to a new genre. You're welcome.
As well, Tracy does reveal that if she could, she would make every day Negro Day. And
a delightful sentiment for this silly movie.
Yeah, and also she potentially wants to be Miss Hairspray, which is a pretty big plot point that just really brushed over quickly.
I feel like, especially for the time period, and especially for who Tracy is, I feel like wanting to be Miss Hairspray should have been a little bit higher on that list of things to achieve.
I don't know. I think it's...
Being a pageant queen was, kind of a big deal back then.
I know. It feels weird.
It does feel weird.
It doesn't
age great.
It's a big part of the movie that's glossed over.
Oh, definitely.
Like, I don't know.
It feels like a last-minute desire to enter the contest. Despite being like, this is something she would have probably practiced for a long time.
Yep. Well, and that's the thing that they keep building up. Penny keeps saying, oh, you dance better than anyone on that show to begin with.
Yeah, like, I do wish that they would emphasize, like, how much effort she puts into dancing.
Yeah.
Like, that would be nice. But we don't.
No, not at all, because right from this, we get the one of the producers, get that chubby communist off.
Oh, good. I'm glad we're adding things to be awkward about in this movie.
It is the 60s. I actually do like this line. I always find, like, the shit around the Red Scare really funny. Because
I do too.
Because it has so much ties to, like, all these panic scares, like the Satanic Panic of the 90s or 80s and 90s.
We just pick a new category every once in a while.
Yes, and it happens all the time.
Yes, it does. Regularly.
And I'm going to plug it again. Cannibal Holocaust in an attempt to make a scare.
Exactly.
Yeah. Also, I do love the line, this is a no thrusting zone.
Yeah, I like that as well.
But we do, this is an important moment because it reveals that not everyone on the show is bad. Courtney Collins himself is a bit more progressive, and he wants to be ahead of tomorrow's headlines.
A nice change from the real life example of this, where the lead was so against it that the show just was closed.
Yeah. Well, he's never been against it. It's always been the producer.
In the real world example, in the real history example, the producer and the head person were so against it that they rather had lost their jobs and closed the show.
Okay.
Than integrate, which is what happened.
Yeah. And we also learned that Velma is set to fix the dance.
You don't say.
Yeah. I mean,
why not?
Yeah. And so we cut to the next song, the New Girl song, or New Girl in Town. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And her dad is 100% capitalizing on this to make her new get her new fame. My parents are scheming ways to get in touch with Robert Eggers.
Yes.
For this as well. But now the commie dude has turned against commie dude, is now all for Tracy because she's hip, cool, and making him that money. He is Mr. Krabs.
Yes, indeed he is.
Yes, and there are some interesting aspects to this scene because it's used to show the difference between Negro Day and what they called the normal vanilla broadcasting, which, I mean, the producers mentioned how vanilla the white side is supposed to be, but honestly,
it wasn't super well shown.
No, because the black side of it feel like it is more soulful.
But, like, I don't feel like the contrast was really presented.
No.
And it also feels like we gloss over how much would have been stolen and then rewritten and watered down.
Yeah.
For, like, the quote-unquote standard programming.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, that could have been, like, a very interesting, like, underlying plot point that they don't even really have to try at.
No.
But again, this movie flops really hard between wanting to be in the 60s and then pulling from 2007.
Yeah.
And so because they chose to pull a lot from 2007 right here, that difference isn't really seen.
Yeah, they tried being very... It would be like if... I'm trying to think of a movie. And like Django Unchained, for example. If DiCaprio's character wasn't the raging racist he was.
Yes, the whole reason that movie is as good as it is because he is the most racist person, but everyone else in that house with him is also racist.
Yeah.
He just happens to be the angriest.
Yeah, it's like if they took... it's like missing the point of having a black detective in the heat of the night.
Yes. Exactly.
It's completely missing the point. Because from all this stuff, we cut back to Penny to see Tracy, who is now a resident of detention and a local celebrity where detention is the only way she can get away from the mobs and is an exclusive club now.
Odd. Sure.
Yeah.
I don't feel like that's how detention works, but yeah, I didn't go there very often, so what do I know?
It's a way to bring Penny and Seaweed together and dig each other.
Yeah, why not?
And the song closes on Queen Latifah's character, Motormouth Maybelle, closing out with their version of Hairspray, Nap Away.
Yes.
A way to make a nod that at the time, like, it was not cool to have a fro or have natural hair.
Yes.
And I do like this little quip here of how dare they use the same song, although Motormouth Maybelle says, but they wrote it. It's their song.
Yes.
Which I don't know. To be fair, all these terminologies, the director wasn't comfortable with it, and it just. But at the same time, it's needed to show how that time was. Like, if you're making a historical movie, you gotta be at least a little bit accurate with it.
Yeah, this feels like we shied away a little too hard.
Yeah, like, it has all these little things here and there, but it's not the original where they have a race riot.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about how this could have been.
Exactly.
In a few scenes.
Yeah, and... Yeah. So from here they get a call from Mr. Pinky.
Oh, good name.
Because he wants Tracy to be the spokesgirl for Mr. Pinky's Hefty Hideaway.
Oh, great name.
I think it is a catchy name.
I think it is too.
Hefty Hideaway. There is a little bit of poetry to the name. There's alliteration, there's the slant rhyme.
Yeah. It's clever. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd buy this product, but I will remember the name.
Yeah, which Mr. Pinky is portrayed by Jerry Stiller, who played the original Mr. Turnblad.
Yes.
Or Turnblad. And, yeah, we learn a little bit more about Tracy's mom. The high life is rum and coke. And we get the song Welcome to the 60s.
Yeah.
Where Tracy's, or Mrs. Turnblad finally gets to leave the house. And she says she's not left the house since 51, which was when Tracy was roughly 3 or 4.
Yeah, this part of the movie is kind of odd because, like, there are times where they are trying very hard to depict her mom as having some really severe anxieties about leaving the house and being out in the open. And then other times we just kind of ignore that characteristic.
So here's my thoughts on it. My thoughts is that, one, because it could go one way or the other. It's just something that's never explained why she hasn't.
Yeah.
And it'd be a nice thing to explain. But my theories are, one, that's when the Soviets dropped their first air bomb.
Okay, that'd be a good tie back. I would buy that.
But also, she just had a kid who's 3 or 4. So it's probably that point where she's realizing, hey, I'm not going to have that body I used to have before the kid.
Yeah, and, like, that would have been a really good plot point and would have gone along with the, like, a lot of the themes that they were going for. Yep. But we just never talk about it.
Nope, it's just a quick line.
Yeah, it's just a quirk.
Yep. Which also, this is the first year first color broadcast was transmitted.
Yeah.
Transmitted from CBS.
Oh.
History.
There's
a bit more, but that's there.
Yeah.
But it's time for it's time for a makeover.
There we go.
And a singing bench.
Of course.
Mr. Pinky's is ahead of his time. It's integrated. It's he's offering complimentary coutures, which I couldn't find what they are. They're some type of donutty pastry. I couldn't find anything relating to it.
You know what? Doesn't matter. It's food.
But the Muppet proves that she is a real businesswoman. She does know what she's doing. She's able to hold her own if she really wanted to. I mean,
she gets over this very long anxiety very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, she does have a good business going. She's a successful businesswoman.
Yeah, out of her own house, which arguably would be very difficult. So, she hasn't left to get clientele.
Yeah. And with this movie trying to be, like, so ahead, like, honestly, all the dresses around them are pretty gaudy and drab. Yes.
No, this could have been a lot more. There could have been some, like, real out there pieces.
Yeah.
The 60s had some fun things they could have worked with.
Well, it also makes me think of when like pregnant women are super worried about their size, and it's like, honey, you're pregnant. We know.
Nobody cares.
Like, it's when they're like, oh, it's gonna make me look like I'm wearing a tent, and it's like, yeah,
wear
you
a
have
cool
a
tent,
child.
then.
Exactly.
Honestly, like, even if you're not pregnant, if you want to wear a tent, wear a tent. Yeah. Do you like it?
Yeah.
We could have gone bolder.
Well, they do go bold, and
but in a weird way.
The dresses, and that's the thing, is like the dresses are so goddamn gaudy.
But they could have been more over the top. And that would have put them into like that next category of like, okay, we've moved from being tasteless to like tacky but confident. And instead we just get like, okay, it's not even like necessarily like a wear what you want scenario. It's more of like a, well, have you considered wearing the stripes in the other direction sort of thing.
Yeah, I've thought about that. All my stripes go in one direction on my shirts.
Scientifically, it doesn't matter.
No, not at all. But the one thing I do like about the scene, I like the door handles on the Hefty Hideaway.
I do too.
The little things. But also, another complaint, and why I love Shaolin soccer, is it relates so much to the scene. Why is everyone dancing in the street, and why are there goddamn fireworks?
Don't question it. It's a musical. Yeah, no. I agree. I appreciate Shaolin Soccer's interpretation of this sort of phenomenon. But this is a high school directed musical. It is about high school students, and it was meant for high school students.
No one was in the store.
Doesn't matter. We all learned this dance together.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess, even though I've been involved in theater and stuff, that's one thing I don't get dance at all. I
don't hate the flash mob dancey sort of thing. I think there are certain movies where it doesn't make sense. I would argue that Hairspray, despite being a arguably bad movie, the whole city knowing the same song and dance, I'm okay with. Partially because this movie was meant to be almost dream-esque. Like, it is all meant to be so centered around this high school student who is overly optimistic that the world sings with her.
Yeah, that definitely makes much more sense now that you put it that way.
It's the same thought as like High School Musical, where the entire high school knows the exact same song and dance together. They don't, but according to the 7 characters or however many there are, like, that's all that matters.
Actually, now that I think about it, my brother Christian, and he's gonna hate me. Actually, I don't know if he'll listen. He puts the podcast on for Bowser to listen to.
Oh, good. At least someone's listening.
But he and his friends learned how to one-hand clap in high school.
Yes.
And the moment any one of them would do it, everyone else would do
it. Yes. Yeah. The same theory.
Yeah. Okay. Makes a little bit more sense, but
it's still dumb. I will completely agree with you there.
Even dumber than 5 high school kids learning to one-hand clap.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Definitely. But like, because this movie is so centered around this overly optimistic kid, and like, we've already well established that like, for her, the city is this magical place, even though we don't really talk about why she loves Baltimore.
It's her hometown.
She loves it. And for her, the whole city sings and dances with her.
All right, I'll agree with it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, normally a dumb trope. This is one of the few times I think it works.
Okay. So from here we cut to dinner where the Turnblads run into the Von Tusses. Who continue to be I wouldn't call them a pair of raging bitches. The mom is a raging bitch.
She is, yeah. She tones it down a little. Yeah,
but the daughter follows suit, and the Muppet is like, oh no, I shouldn't have gone out. And Tracy's like, oh no, you're fine. It's the 60s, Mom.
It's the future, Mom.
The future. But we cut back to school where Link is standing up for Tracy because Amber is spreading rumors and truly being a bitch this time.
Yes, she has fully evolved.
And it's also Link's way into the cool kids club because he insults the teacher. Yeah.
So the guy who was definitely already cool is now also cool.
Oh, well, yes, because he was the good boy, now he's the bad boy.
I mean, that does elevate your coolness level, if I remember correctly.
I don't know.
I wasn't cool.
Neither was I. But in this, they're all invited to the platter dinner, but Link is worried about safety, which...
Okay.
It's a good nod to the stereotypes of the time. And
yeah, I feel like we could have leaned in throughout the whole movie into that sort of mindset. I would have believed it.
But I do like the little quips here of like Seaweed being like, hey, we're more worried about being in your neighborhood, man.
Yeah. Like, again, if we had this dialogue through the whole thing, I think this would have been a much more solid movie.
Oh, yeah. And honestly, this whole scene, this transition to go to the platter party is just a way to show off Seaweed in his little sister's role.
Yes.
Which little sister does very little besides like this and one other scene.
Yep, but she's in the movie.
Yep, which, to be fair, great singing voices.
Oh, yeah.
This is
great.
This is more energetic than the last song. What was it? New Girl in Town.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it, but it honestly, it is a nice that's the thing with this movie, is it has good transitioning.
It does. It really does. And there are parts that are well written.
Yeah.
They just don't connect.
Yeah. And now we cut back to Amber and being jealous, and her mom will take care of it.
Don't worry. She got it.
Yeah, with the parallels of getting ready.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's there.
It's part of the movie.
Yep. But it's time for the platter dinner, and Queen Latifah's real time to shine.
Yes.
Which I do like the record shop. It was a converted
too.
garage. It feels very hipster.
I like it as well.
Tracy finds this whole thing to be Afro-tastic.
Cringy. Okay.
Yeah. Light nod to dangers of being black in America in the 60s that
we could have leaned into, but,
yeah,
we danced around.
Any whiter and it will be a suburb.
Yep. Could have danced around that a little better, but, it's at least included somewhat.
Yeah. Tracy's mom gets the call, and she runs over, but they seduce her with food.
The tale as old as time.
It just makes me think back to that meme, not even really meme, that line from That Witches. You can entice a woman by holding a piece of cheese in front of her.
This is true.
Yeah.
This is a fact.
I have spent many a time at the cheese stand at the bazaars in Europe.
Yes.
Cheese is good.
Cheese is the way to any woman's heart.
Oh, well, unless they're lactose intolerant.
Nope, that doesn't stop any of us. I will suffer for my cheese.
Not a vegan woman's heart.
There is vegan cheese, it's just not as good.
But is it cheese?
Sure.
Is it not milk?
Why not?
I think they're actually trying to get away from calling it.
There's a long-ass rant that I can go on about that, and we're going to save it for a different day, because I have deep-seated thoughts about the food industry in America.
Okay. But I do also like the line, "Who wants a twig when you can climb a tree?"
Adorable.
Oh, yes.
It's a good line.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean...
Yeah. Like, again, the size portion of this movie isn't that badly written.
No,
it's mostly just the fact that the Muppet's in it.
As someone who does like tall women...
Yeah.
I have said that to my friends of like, oh, yes, I'd climb that tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get you a jetpack.
A jungle gym. I know...
Yeah.
I know that is not a flattering term to call a woman.
I don't know. I think it depends on the woman.
All right. But the bitch mom tries to seduce Mr. Turnblad, who is there are some nods to what's going on.
Uh-huh.
We learned that her husband accidentally suffocated.
Oh no.
And this scene was added to give a little bit of drama.
The woman is drama, so why not?
Yeah, they also wanted Walken to have a little bit more of a role, to shine a little bit more.
I appreciate that.
I do love how oblivious he is.
I do too.
It is great. But we cut back to the platter dinner, where it's revealed that this is the last Negro Day to ever happen. The show's been canceled.
Oh no.
Tracy, naive and ignorant, suggests a march.
Again, not sure why Tracy is the one suggesting a march, but... Okay.
Because she's the leader. She's the main character. She has to lead the role.
That is the only reason.
Because she's down, but others are worried about even doing it. Her mom even says you shouldn't do this.
I feel if we had, again, throughout the whole movie, emphasized the true struggles going on, I would agree with the side characters more.
Yeah. Well,
but we barely talk about it.
Well, and even then, like, Motormouth Maybell's like, no, honey, we understand. You got your thing to worry about. This is our thing. And
again, we could have had a different character leading through this and her being part of it.
Yeah.
And I would have had the exact same conclusion.
Yeah. Well, and there's some other stupid shit that happens too in this, like, one, what the fuck is Travolta doing in the background? He's just kind of like sitting there, like turning left and right.
Yeah, it's very awkward. But like, it's awkward for me. It doesn't feel like they are feeling awkward.
Yeah. No, it's just a stupid scene because also Link says it's not too big of a deal, which for some dumb reason triggers Tracy because he doesn't even refer to her as big. Like, he just says the word big in a normal ass sentence.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah, which, cutting back to the father, best salesman ever.
Fact.
Trying so hard.
He is working to the best.
Yes, which the bitch turns around and goes after him, but they're caught. Which, there's the stupid sexy prep in between too, and it's just... Yeah, the
fast forward to the next song.
Fast forward to Dad sleeping on whoopee cushions. Tracy, it does the role reversal and now is consoling her dad.
Yes,
like he did before. Consoling.
I mean both, bit of both.
A little bit, but people like me have to fight for it.
Sure, honey. Whatever you say.
Yeah. Now it's time for Daddy to show his moves.
Yeah.
Which I do like the friendly couples banter, chubby checkers.
Yeah, it's fine.
This is one of the more dreamlike sequences, timeless to me.
Yeah.
It's cute.
It's fine. It's just it's fluff.
It's a makeup song that doesn't really. It doesn't add to the story.
No, it feels like a song that they were like, oh, we don't want to cut it.
Yeah.
It was in the original.
Well, and I mean, it's also just to give some bigger moments for these people to show off their skills. Because also the backyard stage is bigger than a Baltimore backyard.
Oh, yeah. Because
they needed room for the fantasy. But as the director said, when it's a movie, one can dream.
They did that.
Which the Wilbur nod is they're not getting it on.
Sure.
There was one movie I watched. What's the name of it? It was the Ingmar Bergman movie, All These Women.
Okay.
There's a moment in it, and I think it's a movie from the 60s?
Maybe?
60s, 64. So there's a scene where the guy is seducing one of the man's wives, and they say, we have to cut the scene because otherwise we would be censored. And so they cut to a scene of them dancing. And it's a nice little like nod little like haha you know exactly what we're doing.
I like it. Yeah. I like it.
But this isn't that moment. It just
it feels weird.
Exactly. And in the AM, we find out that Tracy has skipped to go on the march regardless. This is
surprise.
Tracy's maturing and last caution moment. It's her point of no return.
Which I could give this, but again, Tracy's character is badly written.
Yeah,
they're all badly written, but Tracy's character has the most holes.
Which the march is also an odd scene because the producers mentioned it was like the Pied Piper.
Yes, very.
Which
it doesn't feel like a impactful march.
No, and I mean, again, movie logic. They get candles, signs. TV is black and white.
Sure.
Like cheesy slogans.
Yeah, like I don't have any qualms with like the visuals of their march. It's more of like the Pied Pipery paradey sort of.
Yeah.
Like there doesn't seem to be any real up and comings to this.
No, not at all. It's just like it's like in any like what is it, the Rocky movies?
Yes.
Where like he gets the crowd following him and whatnot.
And you're just like, well, at least with the Rocky ones, you feel hyped at that point in the movie. you don't feel hyped right now.
Mhm.
Like, you don't feel like they're on a march to save anything important. Like,
No.
you've been told that's what they're doing, but like you don't have the same emotions that the characters are
Yeah.
supposed to be feeling.
Because, like, the Muppet gets dragged in, and it's just like,
Meh.
Like, it's
Yeah.
just like, oh, you're along for the ride now, honey, because your daughter is.
And I will say, this is my biggest gripe with this movie, is in both the stage version and the play,
Mm-hmm.
or the original movie specifically, I think does this the best. While there are lots of plot holes still, this part, the march feels much less of like a fun time parade and more of like a proper demonstration.
Yeah.
Ending with her being arrested.
Yeah.
And in this version, they're like, no.
Yeah.
It's all fine.
Because, I mean, they show up and the cops are like, leave. You can't do this here. And then she just smacks him with the sign and runs off. And that's like the whole scene.
Yeah.
Arrest them all.
But not her.
Yeah, which, and that's the thing too. So, speaking of hyping scenes,
Mm-hmm.
I have to do this because Christian's been disappointed in my lack of Hot Rod references.
Okay.
Hot Rod has that scene where it's like, oh, that started off so positive, and then they riot.
Yes.
It doesn't lead to any of that.
Yeah, no one feels enraged.
Yeah. No.
No one feels passionately about this. It feels like they're out for a weekend afternoon and like accidentally joined a parade.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what it feels like. Which I stumbled upon parades on accident. But yeah, I mean, it's a scene to also bring in Tracy's dad and that he bailed everyone out. Aren't you mad at me? And she's like, no, Wilbur. I always knew you were a good man. And it's like,
yeah, boo-hoo, I don't care.
Yeah, it's a very much patting yourself on the back scene.
Very much.
And then Tracy flees to Penny's, which her hair is deflated because it's okay. It was a symbol of my conformity to the man.
Which, like, if we had spent a little bit more effort, I would not feel like that line was pandery.
Well, and it also falls in that weird little conundrum of, at one point, if you're rebelling against the man,
Mm-hmm.
at what point, when it becomes more popular, does that become the conforming?
Yes, and also, like, at no point in her character does she make any, like, declaration that she's going to fight this in any way other than saying, like, I'm friends with them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm friends with the people in the detention club. I'm friends with the people on the other side of the rope. They should have the same rights. Like, that's all she does.
Yeah.
At no point is she like, hey, I'm going to start wearing a button. I'm going to change my clothes. I'm going to change my hairstyle. Like, she doesn't show any of that drive at any other point in the movie. So why is suddenly this a thing for her?
Yeah, it feels like it's part of her character that doesn't have meaning. It's just, she's a modern woman.
Yeah, and like, again, if she had been a little bit better written,
Mm-hmm.
this could have been a very impactful statement.
But it's not.
But it's not.
It's
Flat.
It's
Like her
cheesy and generic.
Like her hair.
Yes. But Mrs. Pingleton has, which, by the way, Penny's full name is Penny Pingleton.
Adorable.
I love the alliteration.
I do too.
But she's called the cops because she knew Tracy would be there.
Surprise.
The news is spreading misinformation. Another blatant shout out to Cannibal Holocaust.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, just gonna throw that in there.
Yeah, could be watching that movie.
Yeah. But Penny is tied up and threatened a diet of saltine and tang and sprinkled with holy water, which tang is a lot more than I thought.
Also, tang is not a health drink.
I mean,
at no point has tang been a health drink.
It was orange juice for the Boy Scouts. Thank you very much.
It was orange juice in my house as well. But at no point were we delusionally in thinking that it was healthy. It was our answer to Kool-Aid and orange juice. You want one or the other, you get tang.
Yeah.
Because it was either that or the concentrated, like, juice from the frozen section.
That's right. This is our orangutan era.
It had to come back. And then they, like, revamped the flavor at some point. I don't know. I still buy it.
I don't.
I like tang.
I don't at all.
But it's not healthy. Like, at no point has anyone been delusional that, like, tang is healthy. I could understand, like, a sporty drink being like Gatorade. Like, you could lie and be like, yeah, Gatorade's healthy.
Yeah.
You can see the confusion. You remember back in the day when we thought it was okay to drink, and now we all know better. At no point did anyone think Tang was good for you.
No.
No.
No, not at all. But seaweed is there to the rescue.
Hooray!
Which, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have to tie them back together. It's required.
And, this is one of the scenes where I think the original John Waters movie did a much superior job.
I agree.
Yeah. Which, we're trying not to compare movies on
We're
this
trying.
one.
But if you're going to watch one of these...
I low-key wish I had not watched the John Waters one.
I can understand that.
But I do like the John Waters one.
I do too.
But now we have the love song.
The love song.
I absolutely hate this scene.
I do too.
I hate the singing portrait. I hate singing portraits in general.
I don't. I find them charming. But I do not like this song.
No, it is not a good song.
No, it's not. Especially with how many other songs were either reworked or removed from this movie. This one wasn't high on my list of things that they should have kept.
Yeah, Penny's hiding is eh.
Yeah.
There's a whole Smile and Wave Boys moment, which...
It's fine.
It's fine. If the rest of the movie had been a little bit more into what the message was, it would have worked.
Again, we were close, but we missed it.
I don't think we're close at all.
I think at one point, one of the writers was close.
The writer.
And then this all got reworked at some point and we missed it.
Yes. But now it's time to infiltrate the stage. It's reserved. There are seats reserved for the William Morris Agency, and for those unfamiliar, because the 60s is pretty far away for most of us youngins.
That's true.
The William Morris Agency was a talent agency that ran from 1898 to 2009, when it merged with Endeavor to become William Morris in Denver. You do know of them because they represented clients such as the Rolling Stones, Sonny and Cher, and the Beach Boys.
Yes.
Who stole a Charles Manson song, so...
Yes, they did.
Yeah, we'll save that for another
that'll
one.
be a different day.
Which... I don't know, there's...
Yep.
There's so much Hairspray.
There is... It is tangibly crisp.
Crisp because, also not Hairspray, because, Hairspray doesn't show up on cameras. They had to use deodorant.
Ugh.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, which we get a dance off, and the cops are looking for Tracy at this point. They mistake her dad for her.
I don't understand, but okie dokie.
Yeah, which the dumbass cops get bamboozled because they break down the door with a can of hairspray that's holding her in it, and oh man, that battering ram was so heavy.
Yeah, it's a very strange scene. I don't really understand.
Yeah, where we finally get the moment of truth and the best song in this entire musical.
Hands down, this song slaps.
You Can't Stop the Beat.
You can't stop the beat.
Ever since the world began, a woman knew when she shook it, she could shake up a man.
Yes.
So I'm gonna shake and shimmy all the best that I can today.
I had to listen to this song non-fucking stop. I think we might have sang it for choir. I don't fully remember.
I know for a fact we did not. But I mean, it is a fun song. I mean, it's
the ending is fun, and like because of what the movie is, I do not hate the final ending message of like, we can dance our way through this problem.
Yeah, the checkered dance. It has a lot going for it. I mean, but it also misses some stuff, like Penny's dress is made out of curtains that's from her room, which is supposed to be the director's homage to The Sound of Music.
Which, look, I love The Sound of Music. I own it on VHS tape and DVD. I watch it several times a year. And even I did not make the connection that that's what they were going for.
Well, what's great is I had tried writing down because I couldn't understand what he was saying because Tracy was talking, or whatever her name. I can't remember her actual name. The actress was talking over him, so I didn't understand what he said. And so I was like, okay, I run it a couple times. I still never got it until IMDb trivia page. Thank you very much.
Thank you, trivia.
But yeah, I mean, I love this. I do like this scene because it is absolute chaos.
It is.
The rocket carries off the bitch. It actually feels like the last song. Everyone's winded.
Has a good climax. Like, it has emotion finally.
Exactly.
We finally have emotion in this
Seaweed
movie.
Sisters crowned the
The Hairspray Queen.
Clutch Queen or whatever.
I don't know.
But I mean,
yeah, like this has good movement, good energy. Like, is it plot point wise weak? Sure, but like, it finally has like soul behind it.
Yeah, no, there is something more to it. Like it does have that mixture of everything.
Yes,
that's good. It has the mixture of everything that was a decent point.
Yes.
But the biggest issue with the scene is that it's over and boom. Suddenly everything's good. The secret's revealed that the bitch stacked the votes on candid camera.
Yeah.
Which they didn't want to redeem her because she was such a bigot, and which I do actually appreciate. I want villains that don't have redemption bits to them.
Yeah, and seeing as this was meant to be like a family-friendly-ish like musical, I can understand having at least one bad guy who gets punished.
Yeah.
Sure.
And it's also turn for it's also the turn for Mama Turnblad the Muppet to show off and that she's ascended through what she's going on.
Which I don't hate that plot point.
No.
I just don't care for
Travolta
in
and
this
the
role.
Muppet, the Muppet.
Yeah.
Also, it's time for Latifah's song.
Which, I mean, I'm not a giant fan of Queen Latifah, but like I don't hate the ending song bit. It's fine.
I know nothing of her outside of acting. I learned that everyone was so tired by the end of this, but she was okay with it because of her rap career.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, the set design is nice, but people bitch about Lord of the Rings. So many goddamn endings in this movie.
Oh yeah, no, it continuously ends.
And it's one movie.
It is one movie. There's not even like multiple plot points wrapping up.
No.
There is one plot point wrapping up.
Yeah, and it ends with Tracy and Link kissing.
Yeah. And I think part of the reason why it has so many endings is because they didn't want to leave out too much from the original content they were pulling from. But they had already removed stuff and like rewritten stuff for this version.
Yeah.
Which if you're going to do that, just do that. I don't need you to rewrite stuff so that there can be an homage to such and such here or like a quick glimpse of a song here. I don't care. Just remove it.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. And I mean, as much as I don't like this movie, I was surprised with how successful it was. I mean, yes. I shouldn't have been surprised, but it was successful at opening weekend.
Yes, it was.
And it was success, and it held that until Mamma Mia in 2008.
Which, I mean, it is a little hard to compete with Mamma Mia.
I have only seen parts of it because of an ex-girlfriend.
I can understand that. I have a deep love of ABBA. I listened to ABBA on the car ride this morning.
I grew up on ABBA. My parents like ABBA.
I love ABBA, thus I love Mamma Mia. I do not like the new one. I thought the new one was cheesy and stupid.
There's a new Mamma Mia?
There is a Mamma Mia 2.
Okay.
Don't. I mean, you can watch it, but like, it lacks the charm the first one did.
I would... I've got other musicals I would prefer to watch.
I agree with that sentiment entirely.
Yeah, which also Mamma Mia was the highest grossing one, and it's currently the highest grossing one from opening weekend. And I'm talking specifically opening weekend. I'm not talking all time.
Yes.
Not surprising, it's Disney's Frozen 2.
Of course it is. Have you seen it? Is it so good?
No, I have not.
It's okay.
I have seen Frozen 1. We watched it together.
We did watch it together.
Yeah.
It wasn't as bad as you thought.
I didn't think Frozen was bad. I don't like Olaf.
That's fair. I love Olaf. I watch his Christmas special. It is hilarious.
I've seen the Christmas special too. We watched it together.
I know. I made you watch it.
I feel I am justified in making you watch Cannibal Holocaust at some point.
That is fair.
But and I get them wanting to make the movie empowering to non-conventionally beautiful women.
Sure.
I mean,
I think that's a good sentiment to want in your movie. And I think this movie could have done that.
I agree. And that's the reason, like, there's only 3 larger
Characters,
women.
Yeah.
Minus John Travolta. It's a man, baby.
Could have been a drag queen, and then I would have been really, and it would have been a perfect trio. It
would have been better. I mean, that's the exact thing.
Yes.
They wanted it to be a no excuses movie musical, but it feels so fluff and full of air.
So watered down.
Yeah, and like, well, I mean,
but despite being watered down, people fucking loved this thing.
Yeah, and like, I mean, I get that there are things that make it musical not work the way they intended.
Sure, that happens.
But, and I mean, the music's good.
No, the music's great.
But everything else, they just don't...
And like, the plot's not bad. The idea is good. It's just empty.
Yeah. I mean, and a part of what makes it empty is like being so body positive, but they have to dress someone up in a fat suit to get that. It just feels hypocritical.
It does. And on top of that, if this movie had wanted to focus more on her being body positive, that would be great. But we stray from that to be racially aware and an activist there, which if we want to do that, that's fine too. Yeah. That would have been a very good story as well, but we are awkwardly trying to tell both, and instead of like feeling empowered on both fronts, it just makes it feel like we are comparing the two.
Yeah.
And that's not fair to either movement.
No, not at all. It doesn't have that zhuzh.
No.
That
it is missing
the original had.
It is missing the campiness.
Yes. And that's a great thing about the John Waters one is he made it he went extreme.
Yes.
And that's exactly what it is.
Yes.
They didn't go extreme enough with it, and because, one, they had to make it a Hollywood success, whereas John Waters was doing this independently.
Exactly.
And so he had the leeway to make the ridiculous stuff. Like,
yes.
In the I know we didn't want to compare, but like in the original, part of what I loved was that like Penny, when she's locked up in a room, her mom puts jail bars on her room.
Yes, it's so over the top.
She has she replaces her door with a jail door.
Yes, it is so fanciful.
And Seaweed has to use snips to get it open, and even then barely gets it open.
Yes,
and has to hide under the bed when the mom comes in because Penny's turned on the TV and she has access to whatever she wants to watch. Like, it doesn't have the bite that the original had.
Yes, it is a weak reinterpretation.
Exactly, and that's the other thing too is. The directors and producers talked about how they made some of the moves somewhat modern and contemporary to fit with a more modern audience, so that way they could attach to something.
But they didn't.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
Yeah, they missed the whole point because honestly, why the fuck not make a new musical? Just make a whole new movie in general about that, addressing the issues with the modern times.
Yeah, those are still problems.
Yeah.
Like, in 2007, those were still big problems.
Yeah, and on top of that, they mentioned that the detention kids' moves were accurate for the times, because I think it was Seaweed's mom, the actor, Elijah, his mom was a dancer and choreographer and knew the dances of the time.
Which is fine and great, but, like, because we've watered it down with other dances... you don't really notice.
Yeah, and here's the thing. The producers mentioned that they didn't want to be on a soapbox and make about a serious matter.
Then why pick this movie?
Exactly.
This movie was meant to address those issues in that, like, over-the-top way.
Yeah, and it's a focus on reinvention versus recreation, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Of, like... They were reinventing the entire purpose of the movie.
When they should have just made a different movie.
Exactly. And I don't know. And this is exactly what it is. Because it's in that special feature where they're talking about like how they were touring it around the world. Where like they had the preview and then the cast came actually out onto stage and started dancing and singing for everyone. Because they wanted to make it an experience and not a good movie.
Which we have now seen experiences... be good movies. While I do not think it is a stellar movie, like, La La Land is an experience. It was an experience when it came out.
Did not see that.
You would not like it. It wasn't my thing. But I will not argue that it was an experience.
It's like Happiness of the Katakuris is an experience. Burst City's an experience.
Yes, they are. And like I think a unfortunate large part of this was so many people wanting to be included in this. They like
too many cooks.
There were too many cooks, and now we can sing that song for 15 minutes.
I'm not going to. I bet Too Many Cooks is a better musical.
Yes, I 100% agree. Too Many Cooks, which only has like a handful of lines, is a better musical than this movie.
I remember showing that to you guys for the first time, and then your husband just...
He loves it. He fucking loves Too Many Cooks. To this day, he still thinks it's hilarious.
Because it is.
Because it is.
It is.
Its simplicity is its like driving factor, and like again, this could have been either more simple, and we could have left off some of these plot points, been a whole new movie, and been good. Or we could have, like, addressed the movie as it originally was meant.
Yeah. No.
Luckily for this movie, the music is delightful.
That's the only thing I can take away from it.
The soundtrack is phenomenal. I love it.
Okay, I will say for, like, 3 of the songs.
Those are the only 3 that you need.
Yeah. Most of it's just kind of
And I honestly believe, wholeheartedly, that because it starts with a really good song and ends with a great song, that is what people remember.
Yeah.
I think most people, after watching it the first time, forget the whole middle part, forgot the plot, and just remember the songs. And, like, I have no fault in liking just the soundtrack to a movie. The songs in this are good.
To be fair, everyone else lost the plot of the movie, so...
No, that's true. That is very true. And we've talked about this before. I am a very firm believer that you do not need the source material to enjoy a movie.
No.
That defeats the purpose of a movie for me.
Yes.
However, if you don't have the source material for this one, you will be confused as hell.
Well, yeah, and I mean, it's the whole reason and that's the whole thing behind our podcast too, is like when we review movies based off books, of other works of art. Mm-hmm. We always try and take the movie in for what it is.
Yeah.
But for me, not even knowing the source material, I didn't like this movie.
Yes.
It's just so
bad. It's unfortunately off-putting because we've done ones where we were focused on the original, and because we saw the original, we went and found the new one, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Like with Birdcage. Like...
Well, that's exactly how it was for me. I didn't know this was a John Waters movie.
Yeah, and now that you do, you're going to go back and try and find his shit.
Yeah, well, I've wanted to watch John Waters, and I was very close to buying Pink Flamingo the weekend before it was released, or it was announced on Criterion.
I think we're, though, the only people on the entire planet to have seen this movie and are actively going to go watch the other things from the directors. The
original directors, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And it is not in prompting because of this movie.
No.
It is because when we were doing research, we discovered that the original shit was better.
Yes, exactly.
Which is disappointing. That's so disappointing.
It is very disappointing. And so, I guess, Chris, what do you rate this on our good, bad, weird scale?
This is, for me, someone who loves stupid, who loves corny, who loves musicals. This is bad.
I completely, wholeheartedly agree.
This is bad, and I do not understand why people love it as much as they do.
I honestly don't either. I mean, it's one of those movies that just absolutely misses the mark.
Yes, 100%. I think the music is good. Mm-hmm. I think the soundtrack is amazing. But that has nothing to do with the movie, with the writers, with the producer, with the cast, even. No. It has all to do with the original works, and that's what's left over.
Yeah, it makes me think of the discussion I had with the only film class I had in college was, we were doing Westerns.
Good class.
But we were doing Brokeback Mountain.
That one of them. Okay, but there's some talks to be had there.
Well, exactly. That was the discussion of whether is this a movie that's set in the West, or is it a Western? Because it had all the tropes. And that's the thing, is this movie is one of those where it has the tropes. Mm-hmm. Or not even tropes, it has the elements.
Yes.
But it does absolutely fuck all with them.
I completely agree.
And that is exactly what it is. So, I guess also our secondary rating do you recommend this movie at all, Chris?
I recommend the soundtrack. Just the soundtrack.
That is a good way to put it. I don't even think I recommend the soundtrack, to be honest. Like,
this is such an odd thing because I know countless people who still love this movie, who still think that the music is good. And the music, like I said, the music is good. I just can't recommend this to anybody.
I don't know anyone else besides us who has watched it.
Erica's seen this.
I'm not surprised. With you or just like...
No, like...
Okay.
Yeah, way before.
Okay.
Yeah, she was part of, like, this was her and I's golden age. This movie had its grips.
Okay. I don't know.
Yeah, no, despite other people loving this, I cannot recommend it.
Yeah.
And I say that sadly because I love recommending musicals to people. Like, I feel like most musicals, there's at least one person it's for. Not this one.
Yeah, I like showing people bad musicals too. Like, not even bad, just weird musicals. And this one doesn't even hit that weird category either. It's just bad.
And like, we've talked about this before. My favorite musical is arguably a terrible musical. It has a terrible plot point. It has terrible morals. And the music is not the best ever. But I still think there are people who I would recommend that to. I have nobody that I think this would be beneficial to.
My musicals are show them and then what the fuck did I just watch?
Sometimes that's what you need.
Yes. So I guess that's our takes on this stupid ass movie.
Yeah,
so
don't bother.
Anywho, ever since the episode began, I don't know how to end this stupid fucking song. This has been the good, the bad, the weird.
Thanks for listening.
Peace. Thank you for stopping by this here town of the good, the bad, and the weird. We appreciate your listenership, and if you want more of our takes in your life, feel free to check us out on social media at The Good, the Bad, and the Weird Podcast, or TGTBTW for short. As well, if we missed a fact, your favorite part of a movie, or just have a suggestion and want to reach out and say howdy, feel free to email us at tgtbtwpodcast@gmail.com. And feel free to join our Discord at The Good, the Bad, and the Weird Podcast, where we talk about movies, just share random banter here and there. And always, check out our podcasters, streamers, or any other content creator we shout out in our episodes. We really appreciate it. And as always, thank you for listening. Peace.